Hello and welcome to Ordinary Activist Radio on Hillbrow Radio 24/7. It's great to have you with us. Today I'm joined by Zukiswa Wanner, who's a South African writer, editor, cultural activist. She was the first African woman to be awarded the prestigious Goethe Medal, and she later returned it in protest against Germany's complicity in genocide in Gaza. Zukiswa is now in Tunisia, and she's waiting to depart on the Global Sumud Flotilla. 56 ships, 46 countries, nearly 500 people sailing to break the siege and demand a humanitarian corridor for Gaza. This flotilla is a profound act of ordinary people doing what governments and even the world's 12,000 naval ships have refused to do. Did you know there's 12,000 naval ships, warships, around the world, and not one of them is sailing to Gaza, but instead it's ordinary people on ordinary boats, just like ordinary activists. It comes just as the UN General Assembly is preparing to meet. The world must be prepared to act. Welcome to you. It's really great that you're with us today. Give us a little bit of the context of what's happening and why you're going.
I think, Nigel, for many of us who've spoken up for many years, but in the last 23 months, we have seen for many in the world, they could say they didn't know. You and I have known because we talked about this. But in the last 23 months, we have seen live streamed genocide. We have seen being killed by bombs. We have seen people being starved of food. And so this particular mission, the Global Sumud Flotilla, is a non-violent, peaceful, humanitarian mission done by civilians, because we are going in where we've realized our governments are not acting, and we will not let it be on our conscience. We refuse to let it be in our name that more people in Gaza die of lack of medication, lack of basic food, water, the things that the rest of us constantly just have.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrific. I'm sure you've also been through some of the struggles of not sleeping like I have, and waking up in the middle of the night as we've just watched it and thinking, why is the world not acting? So I just want to say to you, Zukiswa, thank you for going. Thank you for your bravery. I know that you've got a story that is quite personal. Do you want to share with us a little bit about that story? I believe when you were 10 years old, you were saved by a Palestinian person.
Yes, this is actually a very funny story, Nigel. And it's when I was 10, we used to go. You're familiar with Harare, I'm sure, because you grew up in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And I was at Avondale Primary School,
Yeah.
So we used to go to this swimming pool called McDonald's swimming pool, which was a public swimming pool. And there had just been a Palestinian girl who came through to my school, and she was coming from Jordan. Her father was press attaché or PLO.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yeah, she was coming from Jordan. She spoke next to nothing English. So it was me, it was her, it was another girl from Zambia. Her father was a lecturer. And we went to the public swimming pool because that's what everybody used to do on Fridays. And as we were walking there, they asked me whether I knew how to swim in the dip end. And I thought to myself, I've seen this play out on television. How difficult can it be? So Ufuka dived in, and then Dana dived in, and then they were like, come. And then I dived in, and this was at the deep end. And then at that point, I realized, damn, I don't know what to do. And it's interesting. At that point in time, apparently Dana saw, oh my God, this is not going out the way it's planned. So she quickly got out of the water, ran to the lifeguards, and then told him that in very bad English, obviously, and more signals like, go down, something like that, right? And then the lifeguard came and he pumped my stomach. And he said to me, go back in the water right now, otherwise you're going to be scared of water thereafter. So I went back in the water, and then eventually I learned to swim. But I always say, somehow she managed to catch it because we're a bunch of kids and other people hadn't seen it and they were around us. So I always talk about how a Palestinian girl saved my life.
Our connected humanity, eh? Our connected humanity. And yet we've been unable to save so many lives. We continue to see these horrific scenes in front of us, eh?
Yes, absolutely. It's devastating, We're seeing killings. We're seeing humans being killed. I think to be human, to live, is to hope. And I do think that it's the darkest hour for dawn. And as a world, we are at that even kill. We are either going to fall down like this, or we're going to come up as better people. And I want to be there to be one of the people who is there with a better world. I want our world to be better. That's part of the reason why I'm on this flotilla. And it's not, it's a few hundred of us, Nigel, but as I keep saying to many people, I know we've got the hopes and dreams and wishes of tens of millions to break the siege and get to Gaza and ensure that the people of Gaza get much needed assistance, but importantly, that there will be peace and justice.
Yes.
For Palestine in our lifetime.
Yeah. I know that what Israel's currently doing is it's trying to label you as terrorists for trying to break the siege, for trying to go and do what all of humanity should be doing, for opening what the International Court of Justice has said must be done. Aid must go in. And yet they want to label you terrorists so they can dehumanize you.
Absolutely, Nigel. And, I always say that, in fact, I was saying that earlier, and I think you saw that on Facebook on Daniel Friedman's post. I say that, what's fascinating to me about the Zionists is for the longest time they've said, if you care so much about Gaza, why don't you go to Gaza?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to Gaza and you're trying to stop us. What is going on, So they're always moving goalposts. And of course, as I mentioned, this is a humanitarian, non-violent, peaceful mission that really just aims to create a humanitarian corridor so that we allow much needed food, much needed medication, much needed water to the people of Gaza. And we know who the terrorists are. You know who the terrorists are. The world knows. The world, you can't lie your way through anything anymore because we know that Israel and the US and all the proxy states of the US and United Arab Emirates, they are the terrorists because they are arming, Israel is essentially testing bombs on Palestinians, and testing warfare on Palestinians that then they get to export elsewhere. And part of that exportation, of course, we've seen it's going to Sudan, it's going to Congo, And what happens is that in going there, our people, our brothers and sisters in Congo, our brothers and sisters in Sudan, our brothers and sisters in Haiti are being killed by these weapons that are tested because a lot of these countries, a lot of these places, they do not make those weapons. They're getting them. How are they getting them?
Yeah.
So they have. And perhaps like to bring it closer to home, Nigel, is in the same way that in Hillbrow, if there is, and there is, there are guns in Hillbrow, there are guns in Eldos, there are guns in Soweto, but our people don't make guns. How are those guns getting there?
Yeah.
And who gets to profit?
Yeah. It's interesting. I remember I've matriculated in 1988. I think the first protest that I kind of ever attended was in 1989 at university. And I remember us having the Rattle vehicles that would come onto our campus at university. And they took out these big water guns and sprayed water on the students and tear gas and that sort of stuff. And I remember being told at the time that a lot of this technology had been coming from Israel. So the technology, South African government, the apartheid state, and the Israeli government have for a long time been sharing military secrets. We've got, I think it's called the Olifant main battle tank. I think that's one of the tanks that we've brought in. The R4 assault rifle. We were talking a little bit about extraction. The R4 assault rifle, which was used in Marikana, is based on the Israeli Galil rifle. Now that rifle, the courts have ruled, the international community has ruled that we shouldn't be using that in crowd control. And yet Marikana, they took those R4 rifles and they shot at our people with them.
Exactly. But beyond that, I always say, even when you look at Marikana, there's that other, creation of Israel, the wire that's put around protesters.
Yes, the barbed wire.
The stop nonsense,
Oh,
that,
wow.
yeah, that wire that was put around the protesters, the Marikana workers before they were shot. That is Israeli made.
And it was actually when they pulled the barbed wire around, that was how they shepherded the crowd into that ongoing firing squad. That was exactly what led to them being massacred in that way, was because they pulled that was their tactical plan. That was their plan B that they had.
They couldn't leave.
It's amazing how these struggles are so connected, and we were talking about it before. The connectedness, then extractive economies. I was talking to Jo Bluen on the legal support ship to the flotilla, and of course she's a scholar that works. She's a genocide scholar, but she also works on global supply chains, and she was also talking about the extractive economies. Maybe you can share a little bit about your experience of how these things are all connected. The Palestinian struggle is connected to the South African struggle, is connected to the struggle of the working class.
As I mentioned, it's all about capitalism, Nigel. Last year, one of the things, I traveled around the country around November, and remember what the big story in South Africa was at that time. The big story was 1, Stilfontein, and 2, Spaza Show. Now, with Stilfontein, we had enough callous people saying, oh yeah, no, these are illegal miners anyway, the illegal miners, as though any human being can be illegal. But okay, and of course, when they started dying, when the miners started dying, South Africans then kind of like, oh wait, because they found out they're not just like from Lesotho or Zimbabwe or whatever, the Zamazamas. They were also like South Africans from the Northwest, from the Eastern Cape and whatever. But we actually shouldn't have to feel bad for a human being dying only because they are our compatriots, There's something cruel about that. But part of that is because the system has told us to criminalize the poor. So what then happened with that particular situation in Stilfontein? So you have these people dying, but if you watch the Gold Mafia documentary on Al Jazeera, again, you see the same thing happening in Zimbabwe. And the gold being taken out in Zimbabwe, the gold being taken out in South Africa, in Stilfontein. But right now also, the civil war that's happening in Sudan, the gold is being extracted and RSF is being given weapons, that gold is being extracted and sent to the same destination, United Arab Emirates. It's also happening in Botswana, and what they're doing is, there was a story in the Continent about them arresting the Zamazamas. But here's the thing, before there can be a supply, there needs to be a demand.
Yeah.
How come we have not seen anybody who is demanding being arrested? Who are the big boys? Because mostly it's boys. Who are the big boys behind this? And how come we are not demanding that they get arrested? You know, we actually need to have a different psychological setup, because there is this thing where we've been taught to criminalize the poor.
Yeah.
And we can become better people when we have criminalized the poor, because, oh God, that could never be me. But of course, it could be you. So there's that. The second thing were the spaza shops. Then they're like, oh, there's illegal spaza shops. And yes, people got poisoned, and that's devastating.
At
but
2 shops.
The poisoning, and this is so important to highlight, the poisoning was from a rat, that I think spaza shops were using because they're trying to get rid of rats, which is illegal in a lot of countries. But our Department of Agriculture insists on keeping it. So you can actually find this, this medicine or this poison very easily. You can find it on the street of Joburg. You can find it in Hillbrow. You can find it anywhere. But it's illegal the world over. But in South Africa, the Minister of Agriculture will justify having it. And then the solution, then they say, oh, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the spaza shops, and we're going to see the Somali, the Pakistani, the whatever, and arrest them. But, and this is what the Minister of Small Enterprises says, we will also arrest the South Africans who are renting their homes to them. Nigel, I don't want to explain to you the cynicism of that, because when a South African has 10 people in the household and only one of them has a job, because we've got a 40% unemployment rate, Pela. So you've got only one person working. The 5,000 rand that you're getting from a Somali or a Pakistani or whoever for a spaza shop is the difference between eating and not eating for the rest of the month. So those are the people that are being arrested. We're arresting the Somalis, we're arresting the South Africans who have rented the shop front, the poor people. But nobody is questioning Albany Bread that delivers bread to that spaza shop every day. Nobody is questioning the executives of Clover that delivers milk to that spaza shop every day. So
and sorry, just to come in, nobody's questioning ShopRite Checkers that are opening these little new spaza shops in the townships because they're wanting to get their supply chain in place and putting in these little.
I'm about to go there. I was about to ask who benefits.
Exactly.
You know, benefits when the Somali spaza shop is closed, when the Ethiopian spaza shop is closed, who benefits? And it's big business.
To say as well, one of the things that I've seen is probably 10, 15 years ago, if you were to go to one of those spaza shops and you were to buy bread, the bread would be more expensive there than it was at ShopRite Checkers. Or if you were to buy a can of baked beans and go to ShopRite Checkers, it was more expensive. Nowadays, because they've managed to sort the supply chain out at those spaza shops, you're able to get things, and so they're competing. And it's suddenly, as they're starting to compete with this big business, that we're starting to see these narratives that are being shaped, which is exactly to your point.
Yeah. So essentially, we're then criminalizing the poor. Nobody is asking about, who benefits, ShopRite and Checkers, and Pick and Pay and whatever. That's big business. But so I want, like, going into local elections, Nigel, I want us to get into a space where we say every elected official should just live on 350 rand a month or 375 rand a month as it is now, because they expect of the average South African. There are no quality jobs that are being created, and that again is the intersectionality. I was having a conversation with one of the delegates from Germany 2 days ago, and I was saying, listen, you guys have lost jobs because BMW is coming to South Africa to assemble. So your workers have lost jobs. But our workers are not getting quality jobs because they are getting them through labor brokers. So you get a contract, and after the 6 months, they don't renew it immediately, because if they renew it immediately, that means that they would have to give you a permanent contract. So we need to realize how all these struggles are interrelated. And, from South Africa, and at the end of the day, the people who are benefiting the most from what's happening to Palestinians, to bring it back, what's happening to Palestinians are capitalists. They're the ones who are benefiting because there's natural in Gaza, and that's part of the reason why they're trying to get in there. And they're benefiting in the sale of weapons, they're benefiting in the sale of their goods. And the idea that we don't even ask how the president's brother-in-law is exporting coal that's lighting up a genocide in Israel.
God help us, eh?
President's brother-in-law. The coal that's lighting up a genocide, the coal that sets up Israel to be able to see, that's coming from South Africa. How different are we from the apartheid South African state? Because they used to trade with Israel. So how do we speak from both sides of the mouth, where on one hand we are responsible, we are saying we are taking ICJ and Israel to the ICJ and ICC, and we're virtue signaling, but on the other hand we are profiting from our relationship. We haven't even closed our embassy, despite the fact that Parliament voted to close that embassy as far back as November 2023.
Sure. I mean, it's true what you're saying is from this thing of the dehumanizing language, the, illegal immigrants, illegal miners, terrorists. We've just had the 2-year anniversary of the Usindiso building. Do you know the fire engines that came in? We didn't have enough fire engines, but we had private fire engines that arrived. And when they arrived on the scene, the City of Joburg Fire Department fire officials said, "Oh, don't worry, it's just illegal foreigners in the building." And so there wasn't this priority to go into the building. And so a whole lot more people died. We lost 76 people were killed in that fire. I was a social worker from civil society. We had, I think it was 570 victims or 530 victims. I can't remember, but it was 56% South African. Bottom line, you poor, there's a war on the poor. And any way that we can label you, we'll label you that way so that we don't provide services to you, because this whole system doesn't exist for you. It exists for the wealthy. It exists for those who have capital. And this is what this struggle is so about. So thank you.
We're even seeing it with water, because they're trying to privatize water. You know? We know for a fact that the water boards across the country, whether it's Umgeni or Rand Water in Joburg and stuff, they purify enough water. It's supposed to be available, but City of Joburg's Joburg Water is in a space where we lose 49% of our water to leakage. We lose 49%, but we still have to pay it. And then now all of a sudden you are having all these trucking companies that are bringing in water. Why are we paying millions and millions of rand to companies that are bringing in water to the city, as opposed to using that money to fix the infrastructure in the city so that water can just come to people?
Yeah. And it's interesting tying that water into Israel as well, because, of course, one of the challenges is we've got these aquifers in Israel that there's a challenge with water. So they're looking at desalination plants. And in order to do that, they want to bring it straight across Gaza into the aquifers. So there's also this motive of ethnically cleansing Gaza so they can get water to the aquifers. We spoke to Abir Al-Bukma, an engineer from Palestine, about a month ago, and she was talking about water apartheid. Do you know that before October the 7th, I think she said it was 95% of water in Gaza was not drinkable. Only 5% of the water that was being supplied to Gaza was drinkable. And she talked about, you can't store water in Gaza, you can't dig wells in Gaza. As soon as you start to do that, they come with bulldozers and bulldoze them up.
And if you take rainwater, not just in Gaza, but in the occupied West Bank, if it's raining and you take rainwater, you
Harvest
put
it, yeah.
what consider terrorism.
It's
Because
bizarre.
the
It's insane.
Israeli state.
So I'm very aware of the time and that we're running out of time on this, but I mean, so you are going, the flotilla's heading in, and they're doing the same thing. They're calling you terrorists now so that they can do to you what they're doing to the world's poor, so that they can continue their capitalist exploitation of the world. And we want to ask, what do we as ordinary South Africans need to do to stand with you and to stand with the people of Gaza?
Okay, so first, obviously, South Africa, don't stop speaking about Gaza. Don't stop looking at Gaza. You know, talk about it, speak about it, and follow the social media posts. There's Global Sumud Flotilla.
But follow the
There is
hashtags, follow the links. We'll make sure that they are in our description
follow
below.
our journeys. It's 10 of us. There's me, there's Elam, there's Jared, there is Liveli Mandela, there is Fatma. So there's a whole bunch of us. So there's 10 of us. Follow our journeys, see our reports. I think we're all going to be on different boats. So you will get to see what's happening from each of us. So follow our journeys, talk about it. And the moment that you get a video, if we get an interception, I mean, obviously, we hope that we get to Gaza and we can open up the humanitarian corridor. But if we don't get there, the moment that you start seeing a video from any of us saying, if you are seeing this video, the IOF has got me, please put whatever pressure you can on the government to ensure that they bring us back home, and but please, on a personal level, also please continue boycotting, divesting, sanctioning. I mean, obviously a lot of us are not divesting, but boycott the McDonald's, the Coca-Colas, the Zaras, the Cape Union Marts, the KFCs.
We'll put a list of that there as well. You can go onto the BDS website. And remember, this is a targeted boycott. So have a look on the BDS website. There's I don't know, 10 or so companies that are listed as priority boycott companies. And let's make sure that we're targeting those. Sorry to interrupt you.
Absolutely. And obviously the importance of doing that is this, as I keep saying, is a capitalist struggle. Yeah. And because of the capitalist struggle, we hit them where it hurts, and it will make them hopefully change the way they do things and escalate. As happened with apartheid South Africa, and let's demand also that they get kicked out of FIFA, they get kicked out of international sports, has also happened with apartheid South Africa. And let's demand, well, 3 other things from our government. 1, to deregister companies that are still sending coal to apartheid Israel. 2, to shut down the Israeli embassy, as Parliament already demanded. Yes. And Parliament is other seat of government. So if that other seat of government already decided that already in November 2023, I don't know why the president hasn't done it. And finally, 3, it's very important because we've got South Africans who miss apartheid who are serving in the IOF. Let's demand from our public prosecutor that they arrest these people and they charge them, because this is actually war. It's illegal.
Yes. So, Zukiswa, I just want to say to you, hopefully we'll get to chat again when you're on the boat. But I just want to say my heart is with your heart, and our solidarity is with you. You are not alone. You're carrying our humanity. In fact, you're carrying the humanity of the world with you. You're not going alone. And we thank you so much for your courage, for your sacrifice, for your bravery. And please go and free Palestine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please keep watching. Please keep demanding. Please be with us. We know that you and tens of millions across the world are literally the wind beneath our sails. Thank you so much, Nigel.
Thanks, Zukiswa.
Is our destiny. You gotta make a choice, better be on the right side of history.